This is my term paper video presentation for the Human Resource Management class by Kyle McCormick. The company that I'm going to be going over today to compare to what we did in class will be Google. The content that I'm going to be covering that we did in class is Chapter 3, Creating a Culture of Well-Being and the Benefits it Provides, and Chapter 2, Operating Within the Legal Framework, and Harassment and Discrimination. Some of the few benefits that Google provides is health insurance, a flexible work schedule, some free food, extended maternity and paternity leave, and also free gym with a free instructor. Now, what we went over in class that should be when you have a lot of benefits is that everyone should be happier, you have a lower turnover rate, a healthier workforce, and a much more efficient workforce. Now, what we see at Google statistically is that they have an extremely happy and satisfied workforce with around 80% satisfaction, but one of their turnover rates is one of the highest in North America, with it being the average worker will stay there for 1 year's worth of time. So within 2 years, they've practically replaced their whole workforce. And they also are extremely efficient. This can be seen in the fact that they have so many projects that they can work on at one time and still do a lot of progress on them. So as we saw in class, discrimination and harassment should be dealt with by trying to apply measures to prevent it to start off with. And if that doesn't work, you have to identify when harassment is happening, and you have to stop it as soon as possible, and then solve the problem and identify the problem to know what happened and so it never can happen again. Now, one case of harassment that can be seen at Google is the case of Loretta Lee that was published just this week. So in 2016, in February, Loretta Lee was fired because she was inadequate and could not work what she needed to work. But in fact, she had been harassed for the past 7 years that she was working at Google. One of the notable events was when one of her co-workers was creeping under her desk while she was gone for a 15-minute break. So when she came back, he was under her desk doing who knows what, and she had never seen him. When she asked him what he was doing there, he didn't reply and he just left. And then when Loretta Lee filed a complaint with the Human Resource Department, it never was addressed, and she waited for multiple months until her work started to not become as efficient and she was not meeting the requirements, and she was then fired because she wasn't working fast enough or properly, because she was being harassed and no one addressed it. Compared to what we saw in class, this is the complete opposite. So Google didn't try to solve the problem. They instead pushed the problem away so that they wouldn't have to deal with it anymore, and that seems to be sort of unethical and not nice. For how discrimination is dealt at the workplace with Google, we have the story of James Damore. And what James did is he wrote an open letter to anyone at Google that wanted to read it about how women are biologically inferior to men for the work that needs to be done in the tech industry, and how they are not able to hold corporate roles or be a boss because they are women and men are superior to them. Now, how Google dealt with this is they fired him. Once the media found out about it, it was pretty evident that no one approved of this letter and nothing seemed good to come out of it, so they found the problem, which was James, and they solved it so that nothing like that can happen again. So conclusion is that, like, the benefits, they work, but they seem to work only half the time. So Google has a very good satisfaction and happiness rate, but their turnover rate is one of the highest in the whole country. And then for harassment and diversity, it should be dealt all the same way, but it doesn't. It really depends on the publicity it creates. So for James, we can see that they eliminated the problem once the press found out, while for Lee, nothing happened because she wasn't important enough to the company, some would say.